Namaskar. Welcome to this new session. We have been considering the accompanists of antarayas, obstacles, impediments in yoga. And we were to commence today the second of the accompanist or accompanying factor, which is Daurmanasya. Daurmanasya is very loosely translated into English as despair, which is highly unjustifiable for the simple reason that Vyasa's comment tells us what it is. What is after all despair? Suppose you are in despair. What is the consequence of that? So you can imagine what is to be despair, what is to be in despair. And then it is a depleted conditions. You are sad, you are hurt. That's all. But it's a technical term here, and it is Vyasa who casts light on this Daurmanasya. So whether it is Vyadhi or Sthana or Samshaya or Pramada, if you are conscientiously in yoga or you have embarked upon yoga, and then if these obstacles come to you, obviously what does it mean? You have commenced yoga with a desire to be doing yoga, getting yoga. And here again, let me remind you, don't lose your advertence. These are samadhya antarayas. So understand the level of a yogi who is qualified and equipped to get yoga, samadhi. And now, these obstacles, if they come to him, Vyadhi, Sthana, Samshaya, Pramada, Alasya, so he's just about on the last step to be in yoga, in the sense samadhi, and now the obstacle comes to him. So, naturally, any obstacle would mean Daurmanasya, result into Daurmanasya, which, as I said last time, it is opposite of saumanasya, which again is a concept used by Patanjali, and we will be coming to it as and when it appears in Sutra. So Vyasa tells us about this Daurmanasya. So he defines it. Daurmanasyam icchā vighatat cetasaks obha. Icchā vighatat cetasaks obha. We need to really psychoanalyze this. That icchā vighatam is the factor. That means the desire has been shattered. Aspiration has been shattered. Now, that really definitely causes a agitation in the mind. That agitation in the mind is called krodha or obham. Now, we need to really investigate why this Daurmanasya has been mentioned and what it really means. Now, understand the krodha on account of desire shattering. Now, we all experience desire shattering in our life, in our mundane life, not necessarily in yoga, but in mundane life. So, what really happens to us? What is our reaction? How do we receive it? How do you respond to it? This is a very interesting topic. Once I will psychoanalyze for you. So the desire has been shattered. Okay, then what? It depends our response or our reaction or our state of agitation. It manifests severally and differently. This is to be noticed here and taken note of. So, if your desire is shattered by a beloved one, how would you react? What would happen to you? So, on one hand, imagine your beloved one, the liked one, has shattered your desire. On the other hand, your alien person, sworn enemy, has shattered your desire. Same desire. Same desire shattered by a sworn enemy. Same desire shattered by your colleague. Same desire shattered by your competitor. Same desire shattered by a person whom you revere, whom you hold in high esteem and you revere. You would be reacting differently in each case. That is what the citta means. So understand, it is not just becoming dejected, as the word despair suggests the meaning. So you would react differently. Very revered person, on account of that revered person, your desire has been shattered. You won't end up putting up a fight because you revere the person. Or very loving person has shattered the life, shattered your desire. Again, you won't get into a bout. Your very child, baby, has shattered your desire. The neighbor has shattered your desire. You would react differently. Your sworn enemy or the alien person, an alien person has shattered your desire. You would react differently. Your competitor has shattered your desire. You would react differently. Somewhere you would get angry. Somewhere you might just feel yourself unfortunate and dig your head into the knees in dejection. So somewhere you might get angry, somewhere you might get dejected, somewhere you might become unhappy, somewhere you might just consider yourself unfortunate. So for same desire, when it is shattered, it depends upon who shattered it and when it was shattered and how it was shattered. All these factors will be considered by human psyche when the desire is shattered. So get to understand this. So you will then understand it's a prismatic concept. This Daurmanasya or even despair is a prismatic concept, and the lexicographers have not really understood. If you understand or investigate why despair, on account of what, and why did you get to a state which is called despair, who caused it, when it was caused, how it was caused, all these factors will be considered for your reaction and for you to get into a state, because every time you will not be reacting, and you can't be reacting. Like you won't react if your beloved has shattered your desire, your revered one has shattered your desire, your loved one has shattered your desire. Everywhere you may not react, but you will respond with a state within you in the form of being agitated, being disturbed, being hurt. So this is how Daurmanasya has to be understood. That if your desire is shattered while you are in yoga, now if you are not shattered at all, if your desire is, if you are not really bothered about desire shattering, that means you are not really given yoga that priority. So if you have given priority to your yoga, so coming to what despair would be to you, it depends upon how much priority have you accorded. That's the first factor. Second factor is when your desire was shattered. Then the third one, who desired your shatter? And why your desire was shattered. So this is how the investigation would naturally take place in your mind. And then you would react or you would respond, you take it in a solid state manner. You will not be investigating as if it's an investigation department and investigating who, why, when, how, etc., where. No, it all happens in a spur of a moment, and then you immediately either become angry or there is fretting and fuming, or you dig your head into the knee and say you are unfortunate, or you are merely hurt, you are sad. So see the reactions from being angry, infuriated, and becoming quite offensive, attacking that person who caused this despair to you. So right from attacking, because it is an alien person, it is a person whom you don't like, or it's your rival, to a revered person, beloved person, a loving one, loved one, you react differently. So agitation would differently manifest when it is case of desire shattering, as Vyasa beautifully puts it and gives a lot of opening for the inquiry into it. So that is Daurmanasya. Icchā vighata cetasaks obha. So it's a very interesting kind of accompanying factor, and very more interesting by Vyasa making it clear that it is a condition where the desire is shattered. So it's a kind of sorrow. You can understand the sorrow or the hurt in case of Daurmanasya. We have seen Dukham, but Daurmanasya is also a kind of Dukham, but totally a different shade or a manifestation of Dukham. So, we saw Vyasa's comment here, which is just one-liner. Now, it is also worth taking note of another commentator who is Sada ivendra Saraswathi. He has penned down a vritti on Yoga Sutras. So he says, Vishaya abhilasha vighatan manasi kshobho daurmanasyam. So Vishaya abhilasha vighatan manasi kshobha. So he has little expanded Vyasa's statement. Vishaya abhilasha, basically it is object that we are looking for or it is sought after, and then our desire is shattered. Then Nagoji Bhatta and Bhava Ganesh, they just identify in Daurmanasya the citta chanchalyam. The citta is disturbed. So there are rufflings on the citta. So the point is, in Daurmanasya, you get a sensation or feeling, emotion, which is called Kheda. Kheda means to be sorrowed. Or you can really become what is called krauriyam or krodha. Both can happen. So you become offensive, and you might attack that person who has caused shattering of your desire. Or sometimes you can become cruel. So Daurmanasya includes Kheda and kraurya, and what is called dushtapana. So you can be getting that also. Then you will also develop enmity, vaira bhava. So you will be definitely developing enmity with that factor or that person who has caused Daurmanasya. So there will be vaira bhava, or there will be shoka, or you will be just sorrowed. Now you can try to investigate how many different kinds of bhavas and bhavanas can come in your mind, how the citta kshobha will manifest in variegated ways. Right from just considering yourself very unfortunate and becoming sorrowed, becoming sad, to becoming more offensive, almost a predator kind of nature. You can become a predator and you can just pounce upon that person, you can attack that person, you can vanquish that person, you will be becoming cruel. You can become cruel even. So, see how the citta can be disturbed in different ways. And all this depends upon who caused Daurmanasya, when was the Daurmanasya caused, why the Daurmanasya was caused, and how the Daurmanasya was caused. So all these factors are taken into account by our mind in just a moment, and then it reacts. So many times the mind has wrongly read, and then perhaps it will say, no, I should not have reacted like this, etc., etc. So there can be misjudgment, but immediately there is a judgment taking place. You become judgmental and you react. So see how this Daurmanasya is going to disturb the citta. Therefore, the right word in Vyasa's comment, citta kshobha. So this will be accompanying factor to vyadhi. This is worth taking note of. So understand how Daurmanasya will manifest differently. It is because of vyadhi your desire is shattered. It is because of sthana it is shattered. Samshaya it is shattered. Pramada, alasya, avirati, bhranti darshana, alabdha bhumikatva, anavasthitatva. So each of these factors can really be desire shatterers, and they would be taken differently. The mind would be differently agitated. It's not just one reaction. That vyadhi has shattered your desire in yoga or desire of yoga, and on the other hand, it can be something else like sthana, samshaya, pramada, alasya, avirati, bhranti, darshana, alabdha bhumikatva, anavasthitatva. It won't be identical citta kshobha. It won't be identical consequence. It won't be identical response or reaction. So, see, there is much more to really understand how Daurmanasya would come differently. So also case of the earlier accompanist, Dukham. The Dukha because of Vyadhi would be of one kind. Dukha because of Sthana, Samshaya, Pramada, etc. would be of another kind. That means 9 kinds of Dukham will be here. And then 9 kinds of Daurmanasya will be here. And this is worth really pondering over how our Dukha would be of different kinds. And basically you must have priority, yoga must have priority, you must be taking yoga with a great priority. If the priority is less, again Daurmanasya will be less or may not be there even. No Dukham will be also there. Many of them have started yoga and given up yoga. There is no sorrow. As we start so many things in our life and give up so many things in life, yoga is also one of such things. Started, taken, done for some years, perhaps decade and more, but then given up and there is no sorrow. Maybe some of them are happy having given up. See, this is human psyche. How it would react is really not within the radius of imagination. Some of you might be becoming happy having given up yoga. Now I am happy. So there will be, it is not at all antaraya, it is not at all sahachara even. So basically there must be priority to yoga, and then we will see that each of the antaraya is really an antaraya, and each of the antaraya is accompanied by dukha and daurmanasya. So there is a much scope for us to really study the human mind, starting with our own mind, as to how we would react. So this is how yoga is a chaitic study of human psychology, study of human mind, study of human responses, study of human states of mind. So, so basically, it is desire shattering situation or scenario. Now, these are different kinds of desires. So you can understand how for different desires you will react differently. Somebody, when you are about to take meals and somebody knocks your door, you are hungry and you are very much itching to take your lunch, meals. Somebody knocks the door. Now, who is that will decide your reaction. You open the door and you realize. So you might negatively even respond or positively even respond sometimes. So you say, oh, very good. I'm seeing you after a long, long time. Do come, do come, do come. So, in mundane conditions, we experience this, that the despair is experienced because we are not so much soaked in yoga, but we are soaked in mundanity. So in mundanity, how do we respond? This is an interesting thing to really analyze, psychoanalyze. So that will definitely work for us to reform. So we might come to conclude that my reaction was not proper. When you realize this, then you reform yourself. So for reformation of our own mind, this instruction from yoga is very important, whether you are student of yoga or not student of yoga, whether you are student of Yoga Sutras or not student of Yoga Sutra. So when you get this kind of piece of instruction from Patanjali, you would definitely work for your reformation. So that's how this Daurmanasya have been described. And Daurmanasya is a form of shoka. This is again wonderful concept in Indian psychology and Indian philosophy. Shoka. And you will get a lot of input and instruction and words of wisdom with regards to shoka. If you look into our shastras, Itihas, Puran, Srimad Ramayanam, Srimad Mahabharatam, they tell enormously about shoka, they describe shoka. I recall a statement from Valmiki Ramayanam, Ayodhya Kandam, 62.15. Shoko nashayate dhairyam. See how these are wise words, as I said. These are words of wise people. Valmiki is telling us. Shoko nashayate dhairyam. Shoko nashayate shrutam. Shoko nashayate sarvam. Nasti shoka samo ripuha. So this sorrow is just, we take it as sorrow. We don't investigate into sorrow. But see what Valmiki has to tell us about here, Shokam. He says, Shoko nashayate dhairyam. The shoka will devastate any courage that you might have in yourself. And you know how courage takes you a long way in life. If you want to be successful in your life, you must have this component significantly. Well nurtured and well cultured, well shaped. You must have courage. Now once you are sunk in shoka, sorrow, then dhairya is detonated, destroyed, or at least weakened, or at least greatly depreciated. So, shoko nashete dhairyam, shoko nashete shrutam. Shrutam means your knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have attained, that knowledge gets eclipsed by being in shoka. So it is not good to be in shoka too long. If you can avoid being in shoka, it is wonderful. So shoka is not a good condition. The sorrow is not a good condition. And it's not at all a good condition to be persisting. In that case, all your intelligence will be eclipsed and dented and tainted. Shoko nashete sarvam. Shoka will take complete toll of you. Your physical health will go away, mental health will go away, your spirit to be living and for the life will be also taken off. The springs will be taken off. So it is a complete destroyer. It will destroy you completely. Your mind will be disturbed, your mind will be devastated, your emotional organ will be devastated, your intellectual organ will be devastated, your memory will be devastated, your imagination will suffer. So everything in human faculty functions, they will all suffer, and therefore shoko nashete sarvam nasti shoka samo ripuhu. There is no foe, there is no enemy greater than shoka. And that's how the Adhyatma often speaks about getting rid of shoka, getting rid of shoka moha. These are two joint words which come in Adhyatma. You must be crossing over shoka moha because both are devastators. So that is what we can consider here with regards to Daurmanasya, where there is citta kshoba. That means your pursuit and progress in yoga is shattered. Then shokam, the shokam is devastating even your mundane life, personal life, social life, family life. Everything will be spoiled by being in shoka. And Daurmanasya definitely brings a shoka. So there's much that can be said, but I have given a kind of portal for you to have your own thought process invested into Daurmanasya, desire shattering condition, at the outcome of it, the result of it, the consequence of it. So with that, we proceed further, which is angam ejayatvam. So this is next of the accompanying factors. Dukha Daurmanasya angam ejayatvam. Angam ejayatvam. Ejayatvam means the body unsteady, the body in tremors. So this is again another symptom when you have dukham. When the sorrow comes, so sometimes the sorrow really makes you infirm in your body, infirm in your limbs, and that means they disempower the body, or there is depreciation in the body powers, there is depreciation in the mind powers. So angam ejayatvam, here the reference is to body. So Vyasa says, yad anganyetyejati kampayati tad angame jayatvam. So there will be ejayatvam and kampanam. Kampanam means the body unsteady and vibrant, vibrating, in vibration. So whereby you can't be really steady in your body. So even when the body has shakiness, infirmity, or vibrations, then naturally you lose the firmness in the body, and that instrument for your endeavor in dharma, artha, kama, moksha, when the body itself is unstable, instable, shaky, weak, fragile, naturally, you know what is the fate of your purushartha. So, these antarayas also give you infirmity in the body. You will never be firm by disease. You know very well when you get disease, what happens to your body. So many of these obstacles, they will also devastate your external fort of your existence, which is body. And no doubt they work on mind, which we have seen as citta obha. So angamejayatva means the very limb of the body will be shaky. Now today we know the disease called Parkinson's. What a poor condition of a Parkinson struck person. Can't even hold a cup of tea in the hand steadily. So we understand the plight when the body is weakened to the extent that the body starts shaking, vibrating, becoming unsteady, infirm. We know the plight for anything in life. We suffer for anything in life. So that is angam ejayatvam. And Bhoja Vritti of Rajamartanda tells us that the body is in kampanam. And basically it devastates your very asanam. See, because samadhi or dhyana, what is fundamental is that you must be in a steady position. Samam kaya shirogriyam dharayan achalam stiraha. So you need a steady, firm, straight, erect body. Now if you don't sit like that, you know that you are not qualified to go for dhyanam, in the sense samadhi. So the very fundamental aspect is devastated. This is what Rajamartanda Vritti wants to suggest. So angamejayatvam sarvangino veputha asana sthairasya badaka. It is badaka for very asana sthairya. And if you don't have asana sthairya, you know that dharana, dhyan, samadhi are next to impossible. So, because asana is something very fundamental for dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Then Bhava Ganesh, Nagoji Bhatta, Maniprabha, they all follow Vyasa here. Chandrika Kar follows Bhoja. Rajamartanda Vritti is of Bhoja. And then Sadashivendra Saraswathi penned down Chandrika, Yoga Chandrika. So he follows Bhoja's commentary. So we have considered the major commentaries of Bhoja, for whom there are followers, and then Vyasa, for whom there are followers through Vachaspati Mishra and Vijnana Bhikshu. So the Yoga Sudhakara, the Sadashivendra Saraswati, Sarvanga Chalanam Angamejayatvam. Sarvanga Chalanam. So this is the case of, we know the disease called Parkinson's. So Sarvanga Chalanam Angamejayatvam Tacha Yogangasana Virodhi. So it is antagonizer of Yogangasana. Asana as a Yoganga. It is not antagonizing your chair asana. Sitting on a chair, sitting on a sofa may not be obstructing that much. It will not make you feel of your debility or debilitation. But certainly in a Yoganga asana, if you are going to take asana, which is Yoganga asana, it is certainly going to be hitting you and create kshobha in you. So That is Angamejayatvam, and we do know about Angamejayatva, which comes in diseases. There are certain diseases. Diseases give you weakness, and weakness gives you unsteadiness in the body. Or the diseases itself give you unsteady body, such as the Parkinson's, or such as paralysis, where the limbs are not in your control. So that is Angamejayatvam. Then Shwasa Prashwasa. In a disturbed state of mind, yoga identifies this fact that there is disturbed breathing. And that disturbed breathing, irrhythmic breathing, is called spasmodic breathing, or sporadic breathing is called Shwasa Prashwasa. That is the meaning of Shwasa Prashwasa. So Vyasa tells us here, Prano yad bahyavayu achamati sa shwasaha yad kaushtyavayu nissareti sa prashwasaha. So he says this Shwasa Prashwasa means in breath and out breath. So this in breath and out breath, when it is irrhythmic, spasmodic, sporadic, disturbed, spiky, then that is Shwasa Prashwasa kind of sahabhova, sahachara. Basically it is pranapana kriya. So pranapana kriya itself is disturbed, and then it is made spasmodic and sporadic or unsuitable for the state that you are looking for in the mind. So Vachaspati Mishra in his Tattva Vaisharadi tells us here, Anichchataha prano yad bahyam vayu achamati pibanti praveshayanti iti yavatsa shwasaha samadhi ang rechaka virodhi anichchato api prano yad kaushtyavayum nischarayati sa prashwasaha samadhyanga puraka virodhi. So the breath is not under our voluntary control. That is also Shwasa Prashwasa. That you have no voluntary control on your breathing. So that is also a obstacle that we can understand, and it is actually a accompanying factor to all obstacles. You can't say that my mind is comfortable when I am in doubt. I am comfortable when I am in languor. My mind is comfortable when I am in lazy. Particularly if you are a yoga disposed person. Otherwise, happiness is a wonderful thing for a person who is very, very mundane. But a student of yoga, alasyam is definitely an obstacle, and it is disturbance. So in any obstacle, the breath is immediate one which gets disturbed, and where you lose your control on breath. While in doubt, you can't have breath control. While in disease, you can't have breath control. While in sthana, samshaya, pramada, alasya, avirati, bhrati darshana, alabdha bhubikatva, you can't be in having the breath in your voluntary control. The breath goes on, breathing goes on, because thank God it is under autonomous system. But the breathing will go on. But the breath will not be in your control. Coming to Yoga Vartika of Vijnana Bhikshu, he says, Purusha Prayatna Vina Swayameva Prano Yad Bahyavayu Atishayena Achamati Pibati Shariranta Praveshayati Sa Shwasanama Vikaraha Ityarthaha. That means voluntary control is lost. When you are in disturbed condition, you lose the voluntary control on the breath, and the breath gets disturbed, because in yoga physiology, the mind and breath are two sides of the same coin. Disturbed body, disturbed mind means disturbed breath. Disturbed breath means disturbed mind. So you can very well understand, if you want really to have mind at composure, you need to take recourse to breath. So mind and breath are two sides of the same coin. So disturbed breath means invariably disturbed mind, actually or potentially. This should be understood. And in yoga, it is actually disturbed mind. So we have considered Vijnana Bhikshu too. It is interesting that Vachaspati Mishra, while considering this defect of the nature of Shwasa Prashwasa, he says this is the pranayamic aspect. In Samadhi, Dharana Dhyan Samadhi, it is a mode of pranayam. And I also have given you some input with regards to this, that pranayam itself is something which gets modified, modulated into dharana, into pratyahar, into dharana, into dhyan, into samadhi. And you find substantiation to that in Vachaspati Mishra's comment here when he refers to Shwasa Prashwasa. Because pranayam is so vital for all the stages of yoga after pranayam. It is pratyahar which is pranayam composed. Dharana, dhyan, samadhi, they are all pranayam composed. And therefore, if that breath itself is spasmodic, sporadic, disturbed, undesirable, naturally you can't be getting the fructification in the form of pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So this is expressly mentioned by Vachaspati Mishra. So also Vartikara, Vijnana Bhikshu has said, pointed out how Shwasa Prashwasa is a major factor to impede, obstruct very samadhi, because we are considering samadhya antarayas. So he says it's a very major factor which comes as antaraya for samadhi. So it's a yoga vikshepaka. It disturbs your yoga. It disturbs your yogic constitution or yogic structure that you might have raised up. So that's a very potent factor to devastate it, disturb it. See, for the plane of dhyana, what is called as dhyana jabhumi, one requires pranavanusandanam. So there is a pranava sadhana which opens out for the passage for dharana dhyan samadhi. So there is pranava anusandhanam. And pranava anusandhanam needs a steady breath, effortless breath and steady breath, sublimating breath. So it's a direct cause for samadhi. The breath, proper breath, suitable breath is a direct cause for samadhi. And when that direct factor itself is devastated, you can understand how the samadhi is discouraged or devastated. And this is, with regards to samadhi, understand, in samadhi the breath is absolutely superfine, atimanda. Never imagine that you will get dharana dhyan samadhi with hypernormal breathing, complete breathing, full breathing. The breath is very, 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 very subtle, extremely subtle, atimanda, atisaumya, extremely tender, extremely gentle, extremely tender, extremely subtle, extremely rarefied, extremely waft. Unless you have such kind of breathing, there is no launch of dharana dhyan samadhi. So when you don't have that breath, that itself is a shwasa prashwasa defect. And it is a monstrous defect not to have such kind of breathing which I just now described, predicated, then it's extremely strong and formidable monster for your meditative practices to really actualize. Don't think meditative is something very mental and then the mind has to get meditation, so the mind should be proper, that's all. No, it is the breath. The breath should be extremely rarefied, extremely waft, delicate, tender, soft, etc. I am referring to yogic meditation, not neo meditation. Neo meditation, they don't have to bother about it. They think it is very cerebral. Mind should be quiet, mind should be serene. This is what you are told in neo meditative techniques. But actually it needs that quality of breath, because I am repeatedly telling you, mind and breath are two sides of the same coin according to yoga, physiology, yoga, psychology. So you can understand how strong is this kind of accompanying factor by way of shwasa prashwasa. I recall a verse from Hatha Yoga Pratipika, which is very, very significant here. Hatha Yoga Pratipika in 2.2 says, Chale vatam, chale chittam, nischale nischalam bhavet. Yogi sthanutmamapnoti tato vayu nirodayet. So you all know that dharana dhyan samadhi is of the citta, is in the citta, is of the citta. But chale vate chale chittam. If the mind is, if the breath is fugitive, spasmodic, the chitta also will be spasmodic. If the chitta is spasmodic and sporadic, the breathing also will be spasmodic, sporadic. So that is the testification to what I have been telling you often, that there are two sides of the same coin. Disturbed breath means disturbed mind. Disturbed mind means disturbed breath. You can't say that I have disturbed mind or not disturbed breath. Or you can't say that my breath is disturbed if the mind is not disturbed. That is ignorance, according to yoga. And that's why this is a very important verse in Hatha Yoga Pratipika. Chale vatam, chale vate, chale chittam, nischale nischalam bhavet. Breath is tumultive, mind is tumultive. If the mind is tumultive, the breath is tumultive. And it is the both in steady condition will give the yogi sthanutvam, that steadiness everywhere from peripheral body to core mind. It is the breath which is going to give the steadiness. And therefore, this vayu, the vayu nature of breath should be overcome. So, that is what the Hatha Yoga Pratipika can also give input. There is one more input which comes from Yoga Vasishtya, Upashama Prakaranam 4.22. It has a wonderful kind of instruction. Vasana samparityaga same prana nirodhanam. So for prana nirodhanam, there must be vasana nirodhanam. You can't let loose your vasanas and say, I am going for prana nirodhanam. So he brings the relationship between vasana and prana. Vasanas cannot be let open to go to grazing ground and then you will say, I will do my samadhi, I will go to my dhyana. Not possible. So vasana prana's relationship has been beautifully postulated in Yoga Vasishtya Upashama Prakaranam. Vasana samparityaga same prana nirodhanam. So also Patanjali has brought breath measures for mind to be quietened in a part that is going to follow in Chitta Parikarma. In 1.34, prachardana vidharanabhyam va pranasya. To quieten the mind, to make the mind placid, sublime, sedate, transparent, etc., steady. It is with some prana kriya. So therefore the sutra is prachardana vidhanabhyam va pranasya. And more specifically, the exhalation. Exhalation will quieten the mind. So gross adjustment of the mind is by exhalations. So also the other commentators have brought here stress on pranayam, how pranayam is important for dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Antarbhaya kumbhaka, puraka rechaka have been brought in by commentators, and they have described it. Like Yoga Sudhakara of Sada ivendra Saraswathi says, apana shwasaha sacha rechaka virodhi pranaha prashwasaha satu puraka virodhi athava shwaso bhaya kumbhaka virodhi prashwasaha antar kumbhaka virodhi. So the pranayam, in the sense purak, kumbhak, rechak, the two kinds of kumbhakas have been dealt with, because all that infrastructural arrangement is done with pranayam for samadhi sadhana. So anyway, here now we end the topic of the obstructions, obstacles, impediments, yogantarayas, and their sahacharas, their accompanying factors. So with that, we are ending the topic of Ishvara Pranidhana. Until this time, it was all Ishvara Pranidhana, because you should not lose the advertence that Ishvara Pranidhana is the really measure to counter Nava Antarayas, Vyadis, Tyana, Samshaya, etc. And there's accompanying factors to be nullified and mitigated or neutralized, which are Dukha, Daurmanasya, Angame, Jayatva. So Ishvara Pranidhana really goes a long way. As even for the case of sanitizing your path, it is so important. Because otherwise we are given to believe that we must practice rigorously, regularly, and then our path will be cleared. Yes, it will clear the path to some extent, but nothing is equal to Ishvara Pranidhana. So we are coming to an end of a very, very, very extensive topic that we are dealing with, right from Ishvara Pranidhana Dva to this sutra. From 23rd sutra to this sutra, which was 31st sutra. So 23 to 31 sutras are all primarily in the subject matter of Ishvara Pranidhana. Now we are ending Ishvara Pranidhana here. And let me finally tell you that how Ishvara Pranidhana will come very handy for every obstacle of every degree, every magnitude. Students of yoga should be aware of this. And you just can't discard it. The Ishvara Pranidhana comes somewhere else and not here. It comes in a very practical aspect of yoga, and negotiating, confronting, negotiating yogic aspects and confronting the obstacles, etc. Ishvara Pranidhana is a very, very, very powerful means. It's a remedy. It's a means. It's an end, and whatnot. So many of you must have lost any bearing with Ishvara Pranidhanam, and therefore I just wanted to give you a reminder that this has come in the part of the topic of Ishvara Pranidhanam. So nowhere perhaps we would consider Ishvara Pranidhana coming here, Vyadhi, Sthana, Samshaya, but you should know that how Ishvara Pranidhana is the physician. how the Ishwar Pranidhana is our psychiatrist, how Ishwar Pranidhana is our psychologist, how Ishwar Pranidhana can help us counter these obstacles. Then your countering measures will be 100 times, 1,000 times powerful in vanquishing these obstacles and their battalion. So with that, we are not only ending Antaraya topic, but we are primarily ending Ishvara topic, which has appeared in the first chapter. So hereafter we are embarking upon a new topic, new subject matter. So with that, we end the session today. Namaskar.